What's more effective, a well-trained person with no equipment or a well-equipped person with no training? Well, in certain cases, I'd have to say that a person with proper training can get by with minimal equipment. But ideally, you'd like to have both. Lads to Leaders. Now, Lads to Leaders is known as a program, but I like to describe it as a process. You see, the name is the process. You take lads, young people, and you mature them into leaders. The process of lads becoming leaders is about both equipment and training. Young people are equipped with values, they are equipped with philosophy, and they are equipped with special skills. Lads to Leaders is not just learning to do, but in reality, it's doing to learn. And as people participate in the Lads to Leaders program, they become well-trained and well-equipped to be the future leaders. And church leaders or community leaders, it produces leadership qualities in young people. The Lads to Leaders program is the legacy of Dr. Jack Zorn, who invented the program. If you're interested in participating in Lads to Leaders, ladstoleaders.com. If you're interested in learning more about it, you can contact Rhonda Fernandez, 321-202-7600, 321-202-7600, ladstoleaders.com, producing leaders in the church, in the future, in the young people of today. Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure, is sponsored by SJ&L General Contractors. SJ&L General Contractors is licensed in both Alabama and Tennessee. This family-owned business provides mass grading, storm drainage, sewer and concrete improvement, asphalt paving, erosion control, demolition, and heavy hauling. If you're in need of any of these services, you can contact them at 931-433-4660. That is 931-433-4660. If you'd like to be employed by this family-owned company, 3 W's and a dot, sjnl.com, www.sjnl.com. You can say something around your phone, and the next day you get an ad for that thing that you talked about on Facebook. You can say something in a conversation in your phone nearby, and you'll get a message about that from some advertiser on Instagram or something like that. They can keep up with your information. So why does the gas pump not know that I always, every single time I always want a receipt? And why, when I go to the doctor's office and they've scheduled my appointment online and they've sent me a robocall to tell me I have an appointment the next day and press 1 to confirm or 2 to deny, why when you go to the doctor's office you have to fill out the same 19 pieces of paper every single time you're sitting there in the waiting room? Well, by the time you've gone through that and you're sitting there, one could surmise that I might be in a mood. And I was writing down date of injury. I think, that's why I'm there. You're the doctor. But I think I tore meniscus on my right knee. How did the injury occur? And that's when the mood hit me. And I simply printed on the line, running from zombies. And yes, assuming that other people look at my medical records and assuming that my medical records are permanent and assuming that they're digitized somewhere out there on the ether world, when you look up how I tore the meniscus in my right knee at summer camp, I was running from zombies. We had a zombie breakout at camp. The kids wanted to play this zombie game. And so the guy who was the original zombie, everybody he touched became a zombie. And at some point, the zombie horde is too large to do much with. And so you just have to run. And when I turned the corner from the carpeted floor to the tile floor, or maybe it was from the tile floor to the carpeted floor, my foot stuck and did not travel, but my knee did. And I tore the meniscus. And yes, it's in my permanent medical file. I was running from zombies. On the back windshield of the original tactical Toyota, that's the 2004 little black four-door Tacoma, on the back windshield of that little black truck, you'll find a zombie hunting permit. It's a United States zombie hunting permit. I, I got interested in the whole zombie phenomenon because of a young man named Cody Gothard. Now, Cody was a sixth or seventh grader in my youth program, and he was interested in all things zombie and was quite the resource, the font of knowledge on how to deal with zombies should these things actually be a real thing. He gave me a copy of the Zombie Survival Handbook, and one of the premier quotes in that book is a machine gun is nice, but a machete won't jam. And so I got interested in zombies. The big deal with zombies is that they're supposed to be dead, but they aren't. There's things that zombies do that they shouldn't do anymore because they're supposed to be dead. That's been years ago, and I still kind of hang on to some of my zombie interest. Cody's grown, he's married, got a good job, and I think actually Cody is an accomplished shooter, and he runs, or at least is part of a church security team. And so you've got a guy running your church security team who believes in the zombie apocalypse. What could possibly go wrong with that? If we make it to April will be the anniversary of my becoming a police chaplain. It will be the 30th anniversary of my becoming a police chaplain. My work as a police chaplain is very interesting. I'm not the only police chaplain in Huntsville. I think technically we're supposed to call ourselves public safety chaplains, but the firemen never call us and HIMSI never uses us, so we mainly identify ourselves as police chaplains. The sheriff's department has their own group of chaplains, but I've been with our department for 30 years this coming April. And my involvement with them has been very unique. I've been allowed some really, really cool opportunities. I get to teach adjunct instruct at the police academy. I teach mental health awareness. I teach stress management. I get to go to the academy when the SWAT team takes over, and we teach officer survival. I've been allowed to participate in helping the students learn about building clearing and felony vehicle stops and some other things. And I've also been able to attend some classes because of my work. And I'm not an officer. I'm not a sworn officer. I'm not a shooter. I'm not an operator. But because of my close interface with the police, I've been given the opportunity to attend these things. I got to go to the FBI hostage negotiation training. I got to spend 4 days with a group of guys that were certifying us as Homeland Security Level 1 vertical access or vertical rope technicians to help me with my instruction as a rappel master. And I'm the de facto rappel master for your local SWAT team. I was able to train as an instructor in the crisis intervention program with CIT International, and I have been able to teach not just in our jurisdiction, but several other jurisdictions, the mental health part of that training, that when a police officer is dispatched to a mental health call, that he can use the principles of active listening to de-escalate the situation. I was also allowed to be involved with the Captain Sumlin and Lieutenant Hughes and Sergeant Ayton and develop our peer support program and be on the cutting edge in Alabama of offering this great resource to the police. And then just last year, they let me attend a week-long seminar and certify as a Gracie survival tactics instructor. I'm the only civilian instructor who teaches that at the academy. Originally, though, in those first days in 1992, when I was 29 years old, my role as a police chaplain was not to offer spiritual advice, counsel, or direction. And in fact, my role as a chaplain with a SWAT team was very different than anything I'd ever done. And to be perfectly honest, my main function with them was to be the bad guy. Yep. One night a week, I would spend the evening training with the SWAT team, and I would spend the evening running with them, running from them, hiding from them, being chased by them, and occasionally arrested, shot, or dog bit. The particular night that I have in mind involves the use of a thing called simunitions. Now, simunitions are things that simulate munitions. I guess that's where they came up with their fancy little word for that. When we started using the simunitions, we actually had a conversion kit. You would take the barrel out of your gun or put a adapter on the end of your gun. The pistols, you take the barrel out. On the sub guns, you put an adapter on the end of it. A sub gun is a submachine gun, and machine gun versus submachine gun is that a machine gun shoots rifle bullets, a submachine gun shoots pistol bullets. But we were using these conversion kits. Now they have a special made gun. It's just called a sim gun, and they're blue. They're bright blue. In fact, they look almost like they're made out of plastic, and you can tell, hey, this is a non-lethal weapon versus a lethal weapon. Now, the way a simunition works, if you've never been around ammunition or firearms, a bullet, most people call a bullet, that's probably incorrect terminology. You have ammunition, and the ammunition consists of a shell casing. Inside the shell casing is gunpowder. Crimped into the end, the open end of the casing is the projectile known as a bullet. And then on the very bottom of the shell casing is a little round silver dot called a primer. When the primer is struck, it pops. That pop is basically you hearing it burn. That burn ignites the gunpowder. The gunpowder builds up gases inside this enclosed case, and those expanding gases, an explosion, causes the projectile to go down the barrel of the weapon and seek out its target. Yeah, we're still just throwing rocks at each other, but it's faster than the speed of sound. A simunition has the shell casing, and instead of a bullet being crimped into the top of it, it has a special little paint pellet. And instead of having any gunpowder at all, it's just fired off of a primer. And so it's not a lethal weapon, but if you're not wearing the proper clothing when those things hit you, you'll feel like you've kicked a hornet's nest. So we were training. And we were training in the old gray block building. It no longer exists anymore. There's a soccer complex there. And I had been given a simunitions converted gun. I'd been given a Beretta 9mm, a 92F is what the department used to be issued. A very expensive gun as far as I was concerned, and I had this conversion kit in it, and I was sitting in this dark, lonely building waiting on the SWAT guys to come get me. Now, they were going to come get me using their sim guns, but they had MP5 submachine guns converted with the sim gun. So these are fully automatic paint rifles. And so I'm sitting here in the back, and I'm hiding, and then I've got a couple of advantages. Number one, I know that they're going to make entry into this structure because it's a training night, and the old block building only really had 3 entrances if you didn't count the windows. So you could come in through the roof, and you could come in from either the west side or the east side. And so I had me a little corner picked out, and I was going to try to make a SWAT guy earn his money that night and shoot him with a sim gun. I was there. And the scenario called for a dynamic entry for hostage rescue. And with my 2 advantages, knowing when they were coming and knowing that they were going to assault this room at least before midnight, I decided that when they came in, I was going to engage them. The officer who engaged me followed his training and went to the primary threat. As they came into the room, I stood up, presented myself as a threat, and started firing the weapon. His first round hit me dead center in my face shield. Read that as it would have been my forehead and would have been a killing shot in case I was wearing body armor. And for all practical purposes, the game was over except for the falling. And I try to be a good training partner. I try to be a good bad guy, if you can say that and not be an oxymoron. I try to be a good bad guy. And so I hit the wall, and I let my feet slide out from under me, and I slumped to the ground and started tilting toward the floor. But my entire progress to the floor, and after I hit the floor, and as I was leaning, I kept getting assaulted by these 300 feet a second paint pellets, and it felt like I had literally kicked a hornet's nest. My hands and my arms and everything was burning and stinging, And the entry team guy who shot me advanced on me and continued to shoot me. And as he got closer, the bullets hurt worse. I don't know why he kept shooting me. I'm dead. But I was still pointing a gun at him. You see, I tried to be dead, but as I went to the floor, I had pulled the pistol, the Beretta 9mm with the sim barrel in it. I'd pulled it into my center mass because I didn't want to fall and hit this pistol on the concrete floor. I didn't want to drop this expensive pistol and have it damaged or dinged up. I don't treat my pistols that way, and this wasn't even my pistol. It belonged to the city. And so here I was pretending to be dead, but I held on to my gun. And the SWAT guy saw the gun as a sign that I was still playing the role of a threat, and he continued to shoot. Now, I was wearing a light vest and a face shield, but my hands and my arms weren't protected and weren't covered, and I was being eat up by these bullets. And the problem is that even though I was supposed to be dead, I didn't act like it. Yeah, I forgot how dead people are supposed to act. They don't hold on to the things that they did when they were alive. And I got stung and stung hard because of it. As a Christian, sometimes it's so easy to forget that I'm dead. And I need to let go of some things. Sometimes I'm a spiritual zombie. I'm supposed to be dead, but I let that temper walk around. I let that attitude walk around. I let that vocabulary walk around. I hold on to some things that are no longer supposed to be important to me, but instead of throwing them down or dropping them, I continue to hold on to them. Paul asked the question, shall we continue in sin so that grace may abound? God forbid. How can you be dead and continue to live in or hold on to certain things? You see, as Christians, it's not just a matter of playing dead. It's really being dead. There's no such thing as a zombie Christian. I am crucified with Christ. If any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. I don't live, but Christ lives in me. And if we have put off the old man of sin, if we are going to act like we're dead, then we must drop the other stuff. Because if you don't drop the stuff that was part of your other life, and then no one will believe that you're really dead. And people who look at you and hear that you made this claim that this is who you are, and this is what you are, and this is how you're supposed to be, and when what you're supposed to be doesn't match what you do, you may confuse them. You might even frighten them. They might think you're a zombie. Because you see, until you stop doing the things that you were doing, and until you let go of the things that you were holding on to, people get the idea, well, being dead's not really that big a deal. Dying to this or that's not really that big a deal. And I'm not saying that Christianity is like super, super, super hard, but it is counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive to the way we want to behave and the way we want to act and the values that we're supposed to that we want to have. And so if you're supposed to be dead and you don't really act like you're dead, then you're probably really not dead. And until you can master being dead, you really don't know how to live.